From the Garden State to the Golden State, and from deep down in a Scottish Loch all the way down under, this week's episode is Best of Cryptids.
A bump in the night, your heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to who? Sinisterhood.
Well, hello. We are taking this week off. We just got back off of tour. We're gearing up for spooky season. But as we prepare for spooky season, the spookiest thing of all is that we are wrapping up our tour, our full moon energy tour, where you'll hear all about the darker side of the moon, what it does to us, what lurks up there, and what people really think happened during the Apollo missions. We cover it all from legend and lore to the mysterious and the macabre. It is the show that brings together everything you love most about the podcast, but that you don't hear in the main feed. And this is your last chance to see it. Dallas, Texas, October 17th at the historic Texas Theater. Get your tickets now at sinisterhood.com/live shows, and we will see you there. We cannot wait for this very special show. Maybe with a duster, ... But in the meantime, we are bringing 4 of our favorite cryptid pals from all across the world to you. From the Jersey Devil, the Fresno Nightcrawler, Loch Ness Monster, and the Yowie. These are some of our favorite and funniest cryptid moments. It was so much fun reminiscing over these clips, and we hope that they bring back some Sinisterhood memories if you've heard them before. And if not, you're going to get introduced to 4 on our, I would say it's our Mount Rushmore, but it's more like our Sgt. Pepper list of cryptids. So we not only discuss the cryptids, we also talk about scary humanoid robots, they're more threatening than ever since we first recorded that. We also talk about aliens, UFOs, and one man's brave incident with a mailbox. So we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But in the meantime, please enjoy the best of cryptids.
Well, G.E. Taylor, a tourist from South Africa, was lucky enough to have his movie camera out when he was visiting Loch Ness on May 29th, 1938. Upon seeing something moving in the water, Taylor turned the camera on and captured a full 3-minute film of the monster on 16-millimeter color film.
This is like the Zapruder film of Loch Ness.
Yeah. However, Maurice Burton, a British zoologist, popular science author, and well-known Nessie skeptic, obtained the film and concluded that the monster in the film was nothing more than a floating object.
A floating monster.
And we really need Oliver Stone to come in and make some sense of this for us. We need a 4-hour breakdown on this film. If we don't get it, I feel like we've unlocked how we can really get to the bottom of this.
Why wouldn't, other places around the world have live stream cameras? Can you just do that? Maybe she's shy.
Set it up?
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Loch Ness should do it.
Oh,
government funded. Yeah. Although they spent a lot of money already.
There is a whole organization to protect the Loch / Nessie information, and I think that they do have cameras. I know there's Nessie watching parties and all sorts of stuff. WorldCam.tv has a Nessie live. So we can watch right now?
But it's really just it's a wide shot. You wouldn't see it if she popped up.
There is someone in this world that is glued to that 24/7, just hoping above all hopes that something pops its head out of the water. And if it does, it's probably an otter holding down another female otter beneath the water and having its way with her.
I captured something on film. This must be destroyed. People can't know the truth about otters.
Well, perhaps one of the best-known photographs of the beast of Loch Ness was taken by a London gynecologist named Dr. Robert Kenneth Wilson. Dr. Wilson's photo was published in the Daily Mail in April of 1934. At the time, Dr. Wilson did not want his name associated with the photos, leading the photos to be referred to as the surgeon's photographs.
He's taking pictures of something else for a change. I guess you don't take a picture if you're a gynecologist. Maybe, for science.
You shouldn't.
For science. Those pictures in the science books get there somehow.
That was, I always think about The Hand That Rocks the Cradle whenever I think
remember
of creepy gynecologists. Oh, who was in it? So many people right now are saying the girl's name. I can't think of her name. Rebecca De Mornay.
Oh, yes.
She was...
That was the lady's name that came from the homeless shelter in Seinfeld when she complained about the muffin stumps.
Rebecca De Mornay?
She goes, I'm Rebecca De Mornay from the homeless shelter. I caught that last night when I was watching.
Really?
the
Did they comment on how
No,
it's also celebrities? Oh, that's funny. Anyway, she is married to a gynecologist, and he is doing unsavory things with his clients.
Is that what that whole movie's about?
Well, one of the women that he sexually assaults sues him, and he loses his license and everything. And Rebecca De Mornay and him, it causes a whole thing where Rebecca De Mornay is so bitter and wants revenge that she becomes the nanny of this woman. And unbeknownst to her, she's the wife of this doctor.
Oh, no.
And tries to get her husband to, well, yeah, she does try to kill her and get her husband to cheat on her. She also is crazy with this baby and like.
So it's like, who's really watching your
breastfeeding
child?
it? Yeah, it's a weird.
Oh.
It's the whole thing. I think it came out in the mid-90s.
Oh,
it's kind of creepy. I don't know if it holds up. I haven't seen it in a really long time.
There's
some other crap, fucked up stuff that goes on in it.
What was you say? That seems like the most intimate thing is to have someone like watch your child and then it goes wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I had a gynecologist.
Or to be spread eagle on a gynecology table and something go wrong.
And the gynecologist makes a joke because I have an Abraham Lincoln tattoo, and he made a joke regarding my pubic hair having to do with Abraham Lincoln, and I was laid out there. And
what was the joke? If you're comfortable telling it.
If I can remember properly, because I was pretty shocked at the time.
Yeah.
And obviously if you're pantsless, they can see your tattoos.
Sure.
So you can see my right side. I have a pretty large Abraham, it's probably a little bit larger than a hand, Abraham Lincoln tattoo. And then he goes to the nether bits and sees what shape my pubic hair is in, which is...
Was it a top hat?
I had a tiny top hat. No, it was, well groomed with like a sort of a tuft that I believe the gynecologist mistook or considered similar to Abraham Lincoln's chin.
Okay.
And was like, I see you're inspired by Abraham Lincoln in more than one way.
Wow. I think we've heard this, but I think I may have told this. I think you've told this on another episode.
He said something to that effect.
Maybe Slender Man?
Maybe, because I thought we made some joke about me wearing a tiny top hat down my pants.
Yes, yeah. Well, I hope that was the last time you saw him.
I have a new gynecologist now.
Good for you.
Dr. Gunderson. She's amazing.
You know what? She sounds great.
She's amazing.
I don't know anything about her, but she sounds great.
She's made zero jokes about my tattoo. Then she's already
better than this last guy.
And said my cervix was gorgeous. So.
Well, then she has two gold stars in her box.
Strikes, or not strikes, but she has two.
The opposite of strikes.
Exactly. Well, strikes in a good way, like if you were a pitcher in baseball and you wanted to strikes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, or bowling. That's weird. Some things it's good, some things it's bad.
Sometimes strikes are great.
Yeah. All depends on how you look at it. According to Dr. Wilson, he was looking at the loch when he saw the monster begin to emerge. He then grabbed his camera and attempted to snap 4 photos in quick succession. 2 of the 4 exposures came out properly. The first shows the beast's head and back, and the second shows the head in a diving position. The second photo was less regarding, as it was blurrier than the first, but the first photo is what served as evidence to believers that the monster had finally been caught on camera. However, many have dismissed this photo due to its blurriness as well, and claim the photographed animal was an elephant, an otter, or merely a bird.
I think it's still impressive there's an elephant in the lake. How often?
Well, we'll get into theories as to why that might be, because it is a very interesting theory.
I think so.
One major issue with Wilson's photo is cropping. The cropped version makes the creature's head seem much larger, like the long neck described by the Spicers. But in the 1990s, experts studied the photograph and the negative. They determined that, in fact, when not cropped, the photo depicted an item that was only about 2 to 3 feet long.
Oh, so suddenly it's the...
This was before Photoshop.
So all they could do was crop it or get closer, zoom in, zoom out.
In 1999, a book titled Nessie, The Surgeon's Photograph Exposed, claimed to reveal the true story of the photo. In December of 1933, the Daily Mail commissioned Marmaduke Wetherell.
That's such a good name.
So great. You can't make that up. A big game hunter to find the giant sea serpent. Upon finding what he was certain were footprints of Nessie, Wetherell excitedly shipped them off to zoologists at the Natural History Museum for analysis. After examining the prints, the scientists determined they actually belonged to a hippopotamus.
Whoa.
And not even a real hippopotamus.
Oh, Marmaduke.
A clever prankster, hoping someone like Wetherell would fall for their trap, had used a hippopotamus foot umbrella stand to make the prints.
Oh, you've seen those in like 1930s
Yeah.
movies where, I hope it's not real, but a lot of times it probably was, the foot of a hippopotamus, and they've turned it into a planter-esque thing that you stick your umbrella
exactly.
in.
Yes.
It wouldn't be that hard
Seems
to just...
like it would be heavy and
To
a
carry
little
around.
time-consuming. Yeah.
And wouldn't your footprints be around it? Anyway, it sounds like Marmaduke got one pulled over on him.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Why wouldn't your
embarrassing.
footprints be around it? Maybe...
Or if there's one set of footprints, it's when Jesus carried
Yeah,
it.
maybe he was wearing, maybe he stilted it.
Oh, maybe.
Like
or he had
has-
1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Yeah, just like
I'm gonna go
me
to bed
and-
tonight
Me
thinking-
and most of my previous relationships.
You got 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Not Tommy.
No, you're all in on Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
I'm probably going to go to bed tonight thinking about how he did that.
Yeah, no.
The logistics of faking a
Yeah, absolutely.
Nessie footprint.
Wetherell's proof was revealed to be nothing more than a hoax, leading great scorn and ridicule to rain down upon him.
Poor Marmaduke.
Hell-bent on exacting revenge against the Daily Mail for reporting his embarrassing mistake, Wetherell enlisted his son-in-law's help to aid in the revenge plot. His son-in-law modified a toy submarine he bought at Woolworths by using wood putty to make and attach a fake head, which he then affixed to the periscope of the submarine. Wetherell's son, Ian, and another friend, Maurice Chambers, also assisted in the plot.
You think he got banned from the Woolworths? He banned from all the Woolworths or just the one
I
location?
don't know. This seems, I mean, any publicity is good publicity. This is also the picture that is the classic picture that most people have seen, the black and white image with what looks like a brontosaurus's neck sticking out over the water and everything. So this is that image, if you're wondering what we're talking about.
Yes,
One
we'll
quick
post it.
Google search, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've seen that a million times.
Surgeon's photograph. And we'll put it on Instagram and everything.
Yeah.
It looks very convincing. Imagine if it's what year was
Back
this?
then, I think people would have been convinced.
The 1930s?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
There's a
for sure.
dang monster in that loch.
People would have been real scared. Well, supposedly the men took the submarine to Loch Ness and set it adrift just offshore. They then took several photographs. When a water bailiff, which is basically a loch cop, approached, Marmaduke became nervous and stomped on the model with his foot in order to sink it and hide the evidence.
I don't know why this visual is just so funny to me that he's like, smash it before they can see.
He's got this big old submarine. He's just smashing with his foot. Also, I love that they're loch cops.
Yes.
Scots take this very
He
seriously.
just walks around whistling, swinging his baton.
Making sure nothing unsavory is going on.
You got to protect Nessie.
Yeah. Oh,
At all costs.
She has bodyguards.
Basically.
The story goes that Dr. Wilson was friends with the men, and when they told him of the practical joke, he agreed to sell the photos to the Daily Mail. So it was all a big conspiracy.
He was in on the prank.
It was him the whole time.
He was in on the prank.
As technology advanced, so did the purported evidence of Nessie. In December of 1954, Captain Donald McLean and first mate Peter Anderson were on their fishing boat, the Rival 3, which contained sonar technology.
His name's Don McLean. He went on to write American Pie.
He was so fed up with this Scottish bullshit.
He moved back home.
He wrote one of the greatest 8-minute classics that
Such a good one.
the 70s ever saw. Such a good song.
He's like, I'm not going to the loch anymore. I'm going to drive my Chevy to the levee. And then he's like, it was dry. The levee was dry.
Oh, that song, when it comes on,
It's a good jam.
you stop down for 8 minutes and
You got
just
to.
rock the fuck out.
Oh, you got
If
to.
you don't, then you're not American. Then you should move over across the
You
pond.
hate freedom, clearly.
That's very much so. Well, at a depth of 479 feet, the men noted a large object that kept pace with the boat for about 2,600 feet before the crew lost contact.
So it wasn't just some sort of log floating. It was more like a dinosaur swimming.
Maybe.
Interesting.
Throughout the 1960s, several universities sent boats of researchers out to utilize sonar technology and find Nessie once and for all. Although nothing definitive came from their expeditions, the students detected, quote, large moving underwater objects. Well, that's what you're going to find in a lake, probably.
Explain what objects are moving on their own.
What?
If it's a log, it's going to maybe be like kind of floating.
Well, there's another theory about logs that I think is pretty solid that we'll get to.
I have the best theory of all. It's fine. I'm saving it for the end.
Dinosaur?
No, it's just not just like that.
I'm going to blow that theory out of the water.
There's no way.
Intended.
You don't have my theory. You don't know.
Okay. Well, because a lot of people have said it's a dinosaur, it's the Pliosaurus, and many experts have come out saying there's absolutely no way it could be because they could not have survived in that cold of water. They also, the timelines of when they existed wouldn't have matched up for it to still be a thing.
That still leaves room for my theory.
Okay, good.
I'll save it.
Can't wait to hear it. In 1975, television and newspapers began reporting that scientists from MIT had actually captured photos of Nessie.
And very briefly, 1975, it was still reasonable and rational to hunt the Loch Ness Monster. It wasn't, you weren't a kook. Except for Marmaduke. You weren't old Marmaduke.
Marmaduke kook
had been revealed as an idiot because of the whole elephant from the hippopotamus foot situation. Yeah. But at this point, university researchers are out there. MIT was sending people out there.
Very
prestigious.
Yes. One of the most
well respected.
Very.
Absolutely. So at this point in time, it was a legit thing to be pursuing.
Incredible. Well, this expedition produced photographs that appeared to show the head, neck, and flipper of a giant animal in Loch Ness. Upon seeing the photos, Dr. George Zug, curator of reptiles and amphibians at the Smithsonian Institution, said,
I believe these data indicate the presence of large animals in Loch Ness, but are insufficient to identify them.
So here's the thing.
Dr. Zug is a DC comic villain.
He sounded very intense. So all these expeditions keep happening, and it's the same conclusion every time. Something's down there. We just don't know what it is. Could be anything.
I know
which is like we've spent so much money and time to where we didn't really find anything out that we didn't already know.
Well, I think Dr. Zug nails it. There is something there. We just don't know what it is yet.
I know what your theory is.
Don't say
I'm not gonna
I want you
it.
At the end you can guess it and they'll tell you if you're right or not.
Okay. Well, the Skeptical Inquirer published a critique of the photos, claiming they were fully forged.
Oh, they would.
The Skeptical Inquirer.
Yeah,
it's in their name.
They're not called the Reasonablest Society.
Yes, they're not going to support you.
No.
Well, after that, legitimate scientists were hesitant to pursue the search for Nessie. Well, MIT fucked it up for everybody.
Pretty much.
To get a more thorough scan of the loch, in 1987, 24 boats were deployed across the entire width of the loch. Although the scientists made sonar contacts with a large unidentified object of unusual size and length, they were unable to gather any definitive evidence. Well, where it's the same song and dance. This week-long project cost about £1 million.
This is getting expensive.
It's getting a little ridiculous.
Leave her alone.
Later, the scientists returned to the area where the large object was seen to rescan in hopes of gathering more evidence. Rather than discover Nessie as they hoped, they saw what appeared to be moving debris or possibly some seals who got into the loch.
This all plays into my theory. It all makes sense. You guys, at the end, it's going to click like a
black hole
piece. It's not a black hole.
Okay. Well, however, not everyone was convinced. The man who donated several of the sonar units used during the expedition, Darrell Lawrence, still maintained that the machines had detected something. Specifically, Lawrence believed the object captured on sonar near Urquhart Bay, about 600 feet below the surface, was significant. He said,
There's something that we don't understand. There's something here that's larger than a fish. Maybe some species that hasn't been detected before. I don't know.
Everyone is saying the same things, just in different ways.
I love that this man is such a believer. He donated several sonar units.
He just had sonar units lying around. Probably for this purpose. He just, every weekend, his wife's like,
he's out in the garage.
Do you think this could be the weekend that you have dinner with us and spend time with your kids? What are these sonars going to go hunt Nessie by themselves? No. You know, Darryl, I got to get down to the loch.
Darrell, your son's growing up without you.
So is Nessie.
Sinisterhood will be right back. I've been taking Nutrafol for a few months now, and I have definitely noticed an increased thickness in my hair. It feels and looks, I feel like, thicker, and I've definitely been shedding less. Shedding was such a huge problem for me, but I love Nutrafol because it really targets the root cause. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement, with over 1 million people seeing thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding. Everyone's root cause of hair thinning are different, so a one-size-fits-all approach to hair growth doesn't cut it. That's why Nutrafol takes a whole-body approach to hair health, addressing the problems inside to help hair grow on the outside. You purchase it online, no prescription required, free shipping and automated deliveries ensure you will never miss a day. So get results you can run your fingers through. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code CREEPY. Find out why over 4,500 hair care professionals and hairstylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code CREEPY. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code CREEPY.
In 1993. Okay, so now this is like the early 90s. Mm-hmm. This is still like well-esteemed people are still searching for this creature.
Well-esteemed? What happened in 1993?
What?
I was just going to say, keep bringing Discovery Channel. Not so much.
You don't like the Discovery Channel?
They lied to me, okay?
Is this about the megalodon?
Yes, forever. I don't trust them. They're not a legitimate scientific news source. They made me think that megalodons were real.
They wanted you to discover it on your own.
And then on my birthday, Pam Welch
was fake.
Had to tell me she's a wonderful woman, a kind, gentle soul, and a loving mother. And she had to say, honey, no, that is a television show. And I said, no, I know it's a documentary. On my birthday, I skipped oil and gas class to go drink margaritas at Banditos. And I sat at Banditos with a sad margarita. Instead of celebrating, I had to mourn the loss of the megalodon all over again.
Wow. Ironically, dinosaurs give you oil and gas.
How ironic.
So maybe if you hadn't skipped it, they would have covered this that day.
They would have been like, it's actually dinosaur bones you're putting in your car. Fun fact.
Well, in 1993, the Discovery Channel began investigating the life inside the loch, not necessarily the monster alone. Okay, this is what I feel like we should have been doing much earlier than this.
The whole time.
Well, their research indicated that the previous understanding of wildlife in the loch was grossly underestimated by about 9 times.
They thought there were so many fish, and it turns out it was just a shitload more.
Because all they've been concentrating on is this one maybe creature. Everything else is getting it's like
there's a bunch of debris. It's like, we're fish down here.
We're people too.
We live here.
We're interesting. Does anybody want to talk to
Shut
us?
Up. Get out of the way, log.
I'm not a log. I have eyes. And I'm swimming around.
I have a family.
Oh. Do you want to meet them? They're right down here under this log. You can see what an actual log looks like.
Shoot them with a sonar beam.
Oh, God.
My children.
Well, on their program, Loch Ness Discovered, they revealed that there was an underwater disturbance caught on sonar that indicated 3 sonar contacts followed by a powerful wake, indicating some type of large movement underwater.
Interesting.
They're still finding out the same stuff, though.
It's still pointing to my theory.
The BBC also sponsored an extensive search of the loch in 2003, utilizing 600 separate sonar beams coupled with satellite tracking.
This is what Nancy McKinney would call, they got more money than they got sense.
She's not wrong. After the entire loch was searched, the BBC researchers concluded there was no animal of any significant size.
Lies. Fake news.
Based on this, they concluded that Nessie was only a myth.
Fake news.
Well,
fake
I'm glad
news.
In 2003, with just 600 sonar beams and satellite tracking, they were able to finally determine that.
Liars. They don't know.
Atlantis. That's my second guess for what you're thinking.
Not Atlantis.
Or an Atlantis-like situation.
Scenario.
Because Atlantis, we all know, is not in the Loch Ness.
But we could have, it's beneath the Bermuda Triangle.
Mm-hmm. With major networks like Discovery Channel and the BBC involved in the search for Nessie, the Scottish Natural Heritage, a government-funded body in Scotland, decided it was critical to devise a code of practice to determine what the government would do if Nessie was ever discovered or captured.
This is your taxpayer dollars at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. Step 1 after Nessie is discovered is to take a DNA sample. Step 2 is that Nessie should be released back into the loch. Most importantly, the code of practice declares that Nessie should be protected from harm above all else, which I love this.
I agree. I love it.
It's not kill it. We're going to find out as much as we can, and then we're going to forget this ever happened, and it didn't really change anything for the better.
No, I think it's very respectful, but also appreciates the scientific, what's the word I'm looking for? Something matters.
When something matters?
Yeah. I don't know.
Honestly, I'm the whole time you were talking, I was thinking about how they would catch her and how sad she would probably be. And it would be a very
it would make sad sounds.
E.T. situation. I started to get upset thinking about aquatic Littlefoot in a giant net, flailing about trying to get out.
Significance. The word was significance.
And they're trying to just get DNA. What are they going to do? Swab her mouth? It's like an Ancestry.
Excuse me, could you spit into this cup? Could you spit into this tube?
She's no, I don't spit. I'm a lady. Well, in 2018, okay, this was very recent.
Still going on.
Scientists began to gather DNA from the loch from depths of up to 656 feet deep, prompting Scotland's First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, to say that she believes there is a monster. This sounds like something our president would say. And when I don't even like calling him our president, the president, because he is not my president.
Not my president.
The results are expected to reveal unknown species of bacteria and salmon previously undiscovered in the loch, and samples are currently being tested across the world at laboratories in New Zealand, Australia, Denmark, and France to be analyzed against a genetic database. Maybe they would have discovered all these had they been paying attention to all these sad little fish in the first place.
In the first place.
Ultimately, the DNA could prove the existence of Nessie by showing any reptilian DNA in the loch, which would point to the existence of a Nessie-like creature. Professor Gimmel, a scientist working on the project, added,
"There's an idea that an ancient Jurassic Age reptile might be in Loch Ness. If we find any reptilian DNA sequences in Loch Ness, that would be surprising and would be very, very interesting." He was Australian, so
yeah, I like that.
I mean, in real life.
Oh, he is.
Yeah,
okay. I thought you just made a creative decision, and I liked it.
I was trying to be realistic.
I like it.
That's not a Nessie. That's a Nessie. I don't know if that would be a good joke, but I'm glad I said it.
Oh, I think it was a very good joke. Oh, well, if a giant prehistoric long-necked creature isn't lurking in the watery depths of the loch,
it is.
Then what are eyewitnesses that claim they've spotted the monster actually seeing? According to Ronald Binns, former member of the Loch Ness Phenomena Investigation Bureau, yes, that is a thing.
I want to join that so bad. Yeah. I want to join it so hard.
And author of The Loch Ness Mystery Solved and The Loch Ness Mystery Reloaded.
You already solved it. How do you get this reloading?
Gotta reload it. This sounds very Fast and the Furious franchise.
Two lock, two monster. Come on.
Well, Ben says an aspect of the human psyche is the ability for the eye to see what it wants and expects to see.
Well, we talked about this when trying to see things in the dark, you try to make a sense of something.
Your brain it runs on facial recognition.
Correct.
So if it doesn't know what it's seeing, it tries to make it out.
Force.
This also happened to me last night when I was trying to find my cell phone.
Oh, no.
Girl. I thought I was never going to find my cell phone again in my own bedroom. I was like, well, the house is haunted. Somebody came in and stole it.
What happened?
I was in the bed, but
That's happened.
I made Tommy get out of bed. I was like, can you help me find the phone? I cannot find it anywhere. We looked everywhere, all over the house, rooms I hadn't even gone in. I was like, I feel like it's in the bed, but I kept pulling back the covers. And then I pulled back the covers and I was like, oh, there it is. And then I looked, I was like, oh, that's not it. But my brain was convinced it was in the covers. So my eyes made that connection that I really had seen it when it was just a shadow. Yeah.
Oh, it was a shadow the whole time.
But then it really wasn't the covers, just further down. I had to strip the whole bed down and found it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But when I found it, I go, this is just like Loch Ness. And he was like, what?
You're like,
what
listen to the episode, babe.
Yeah, you'll find out.
You'll know.
Rex Gilroy's spot as the preeminent Yowie researcher was taken in the early 2000s by a new cryptozoologist, Dean Harrison. Dean was an average guy working as a sales manager for a hardware company when he encountered a Yowie only 100 meters from his Brisbane home. After his encounter, Dean dedicated himself full-time to Yowie research and founded the Australian Hominid Research Organization. Through his organization and website, Dean gathered many sightings from others who claimed to have encountered the sought-after legend.
Here's the deal. I'm grateful for Dean Harrison and all he's done. I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody. He's got a fucking SUV that has, I think his license plate is Yowie. That's badass.
Nice.
However, first of all, I love that
he can't be the only one over there either. There's got to be Yowie 1, Yowie 2.
I'm sure.
All the way up to, yeah.
He's got a fleet vehicle. But I was reading his take. He's told this story many times in many different interviews. And in one of the interviews, he's like, I had a choice. I could either go back down like to investigate the Yowie and have a look, but something inside my head said, let it go because I might not come back. Mm-hmm. When you're a sales manager and you went to investigate a Yowie and you change your whole life, you've never come back. You've gone and it's gone.
Yeah.
You went. But the conversation he was having, he was on the phone when this happened and with his now wife. And then later on in the interview, he's like retelling it. And he was like, anyway, so my girlfriend was inside. I was outside on the phone. And the interviewer's like, I'm sorry. What? And he was like, oh, yeah. Oh, it's kind of, he was cheating on his girlfriend. He was outside having a call with the person who, to be fair, he eventually married her. But like, he was like, I was kind of out in the trees trying to hide.
That Yowie knew what was going on.
Yowie's like, you're doing her dirty.
That Yowie was trying to get that lady's attention inside. Like, come out here, catch your man, see what he's doing.
Yeah, Yowie's being a homie. Yowie's like, hey, knock, knock. Check out, see who he's on the phone with.
Yowie's a ride or die.
Like I said, I'm not trying to throw shade. That was in a public newspaper article. I just thought it was very funny that he was explaining why he was out after dark, kind of like in the bushes. And the interviewer was like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, though. Could this also be a way that he explained away the phone call that he shouldn't have been having to his partner that was inside? Yeah,
that's exactly what the journalist kind of concluded the article. And it was like, well, when you came in, what happened? He's like, well, I told her I saw a Yowie out there. And she was like, yeah, right. He was like, okay, well.
Why have you been on the phone for so long? Well, babe, I saw a Yowie. And then it's like, why do you smell like lipstick? Well, the Yowie took me.
You wouldn't believe.
You wouldn't believe what I've just been through out there. Its milk doesn't taste like what you think it would taste like. Cast aside in favor of the newer hunter, Rex Gilroy remarked to the Sydney Morning Herald in 2000.
Maybe I should have claimed to see Yowies. Maybe then I wouldn't have been swept aside by the media in favor of all these pretenders.
Roasted.
He's so mad.
Here's where the infighting begins. See? Because Rex Gilroy takes this seriously. He doesn't want a mockery made of his industry. And then when someone comes along and it's like, you're just using this to get out of the fact that you're fucking around. He didn't take kindly to that.
He didn't like it. He said, I think Rex said, I'd like to see open season on the wankers. And it's not even just Dean. He seemed not to like him, but there's like 5 or 6 other kind of like top Yowie researchers that he just really didn't like all of them. He said Rex Gilroy said he thought that it made Yowie hunters look foolish.
I will say I was shocked at the number of Yowie research groups I have come across. I mean, so many, and no shortage of name. It's like the Michael Scott Paper Company. I mean, there's so many different variations of how they name them.
It's true. I mean, it really does echo Bigfoot in a lot of ways. And I believe it was Dean Harrison who contacted some of the Bigfoot search organizations in America to try to like work with them and everything. And it's like the Sydney Morning Herald called America the world's biggest and most credulous forum. Like, we'll just believe anything.
Thank you. You're not wrong. We will take that. Yes, thank you.
I was like, sometimes people have your number, and the Sydney Morning Herald had ours.
Like Gilroy before him, Dean Harrison also subscribed to the theory that Yowies were still living descendants of the Gigantopithecus. He and a crew would venture out on weekends, dressed in camo, to follow up on reported sightings. Harrison also sung the praises of the online Yowie community, in making those who'd had encounters feel less alone, telling the Herald,
"The net's breaking down the walls. people can look at others' reports and realize others have seen these things too.
Well, that's one way to look at it. That is true.
Connect.
It can also be a bit of herd mentality, or, what is it? Not implanted memory, but just
confirmation bias. Yeah.
Yeah. And the suggested idea, if you're looking for something, then you might find it. But I do like that it is a way, if people are like, I can't tell my family about this, unless you're like, I'm going to tell my wife because I'm cheating on her and I need a good excuse.
But he claims that he's gotten both publicly posted reports and anonymous ones, and that some of the anonymous ones, many of them, he said, came from police officers and park rangers who said, I was out there. I saw it. They're covering it up. They told us don't talk about it. They're trying to keep it on. They're keeping it on the low. And I think Gary Oppett actually used to be a park ranger, and he is the cryptozoologist we talked about earlier. He had seen some in his days as a park ranger. And what does one do beyond just you be like, I got to give this life up. I got to go chase a yowie. And then that becomes your life too. So people of all ilks are finding solace in others when they're like, I don't want to be famous as like a yowie person, like a person who saw a yowie. I just saw what I saw, man.
They might feel like they're going to be ostracized or made fun of or get yowie yelled at them every time they walk by.
The unkind youths in the streets. We all fear them. I do.
Now, I will say, and I'll save it for so what do we think, but taking all of that, I have some questions as to why we haven't seen any bodies or skeletal remains.
There's an answer.
If they're so prevalent. On the expeditions, Harrison said he and his crew play a game of chase with the yowies. He told the Herald,
the yowie enjoys it. If the men lose him at any stage, he'll make a sound to throw a rock, then the chase is on again.
One of Harrison's companions followed up,
that thing is obviously bored shitless out there.
For real, though. I mean, at some point you're like, I've seen everything there is to see out here, so you're just waiting for people to come by that you can have a little fun with.
Rex Gilroy in the 70s, because that's kind of when there was like sightings in the 1800s, and then like here and there, and people would talk about it, but it was really Rex Gilroy in the 70s that started going. And in the 70s, he said he thought there were 500 to 600 yowie left, and that's a really small number when you think about how far the sightings have been seen to be spread across such a large area. That they may just they want to hang out with a buddy. They like want a friend.
They got to go find a This is why they found the kangaroo, actually, because they needed a friend.
I've been really trying, baby.
There's got to be so many things out there they can be friends with. All those big ass snakes and crocodiles,
bandicoots, wallabies.
Dingoes, but maybe they're all at odds.
They're fighting.
Who's the apex here?
Obviously, this thing is humongous. It's 24 feet tall.
You think an 11-foot yowie could take down a 20-foot saltwater crocodile? Who do you think's winning that fight?
This is like a Godzilla movie, and I would watch it in a minute. Salty
Godzilla
versus the yowie.
Yeah.
Honestly, my money probably would be on yowie, only because of the opposable thumbs. I feel like it's so strong. If it's able to uproot trees, as some people have alleged, I think it would be able to lift a salty and throw it, and maybe climb in the trees. I think Gary Oppett, in some footage I was watching of him, was talking about how in tree cover, if you see like a particularly dense area of tree cover, that could be a yowie nest. So if they're able to go up the trees and run up high, they would win, I think. But
I was going to say crocodile just because 20 feet is insane, but also they're so fast and aggressive that I feel like if the yowie was just like lumbering towards it and it ran at it and like got it by its leg, and then it takes it down, and then they just like alligators, don't they just roll them and take them underwater and drown them?
Could be. I mean, more money's on the yowie, but you can bet on who you want.
You get a yowie croc baby.
Then that's
maybe that tussle turns into something else.
They fall in love.
Mm-hmm. One of the more famous corroborated sightings was Arthur Marin in 1893. A cordial maker by trade, Marin was driving in his horse-drawn cart with his dog and a load of drinks in the back. Suddenly, something startled his dog, and Marin headed out to investigate, according to an article from the time. Down from his cart, Marin found himself face to face with a 6-foot-tall hairy beast standing on its hind legs. He hit the beast with a rock on its temple and finished it off with the butt end of his whip. Leaving the body on the side of the road, he headed back into town, where he reported the incident to police. An officer headed down with him the next day to identify the body, and both men concluded it was not human, nor was it an animal either of them recognized.
This man was like, I will not lose a fresh cart of cordial. I will fight you.
I hope that there was maybe a reason for him to attack him.
Otherwise.
Was it just standing there? Because otherwise, just let it be. You're in its territory, probably. If it's coming at you, trying to attack you or your dog, that's a different story. But I hope that if his life wasn't just taken in vain for the sake of killing something that he didn't recognize.
Right. People call it a Yowie sighting. We're calling it a murder because you fucking murdered that Yowie. He didn't do shit to you. I didn't read anywhere in the news article that was like, it was coming right for me. It was like, so I got off me cart and I busted it in the face. And you're like, wait, what?
That's wild. It seems like it's more dangerous to do that. Just maybe you can only go so fast, though, with a bunch of little cordials in the back. So in a covered wagon, so you can't go just like taking off or they're all going to spill and break.
Yeah, it'll all smash up. They didn't even have plastic bottles back then.
Marin took the furry body with him back to the cordial factory and put it on display. His wife objected and had him bury it in a shallow grave outside. A news article from October 25th, 1893 was titled,
An Awkward Encounter,
and described what Marin buried.
It was 4 feet long, 11 inches across the forehead, and had a face very much like a polar bear. It weighed over 7 stone, around 97 pounds. Its forearms were very strong, with great paws that would be capable of giving a terrible grip. It was tan color like a possum, with strong hair on its skin.
The article mentioned multiple other similar sightings across Australia, in which many people were so frightened they ran off without their horses. The paper told its readers,
It has gone by the name of the Hairy Man.
Okay, well, I have a question. Because originally, Marin said that the beast was 6 feet tall, but when it was buried, it was 4 feet long. So what happened to those 2 feet?
Maybe its arms were up in the air. That's the other 2 feet.
Is that what happened?
It was on its tippy toes.
So he killed a child, is what you're saying. He killed a
teen?
child Yowie.
Yeah, it sounds like he killed a teen.
A preteen Yowie.
It's fucked up, yeah. The polar bear face is interesting, especially given others had said it kind of had more of a wider snout. And a polar bear, I think, is more of coming like more pointier.
Yeah. It sounds like this may have been just an animal he hadn't seen before, and he took it out.
He flipped out and busted out his bullwhip and was like, bait it to death.
Can you imagine? You're waiting on your husband to come back with your cordials, and here he comes carrying this fucking, you're like, what?
Make space on the table, babe. I got something. We're going to charge tickets for it.
Oh, man. Whew.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Marin's grandson, Laurie St. Hill, has continued the family's quest to identify what his grandfather saw all those years ago. He told ABC Australia in 2016.
The actual fact of the animal has never been disputed. There was an animal. It was brought in by Marin, and it was seen by the reporter and the policeman. What has been disputed is what the animal actually was.
St. Hill's guess is that his grandfather defeated a giant, unidentified marsupial, similar to the tree kangaroo, but without a tail.
I think that tracks. You could be like a big-ass type of subspecies that either may be extinct now or was deformed in some way. You know, it should have had a tail, but it got eat off by a salty. Something like that where you're not sure. Like you said, he's from somewhere else. So he's just landed there, and all of a sudden you're trying to label the animals, and it's just like, you should ask. You should ask what it is.
Or just leave well enough alone. If it's not bothering you, because now it's not unidentified because there aren't any more, because everybody keeps killing them because they're scared of them instead of just leaving them be. And it's like, I can't help what I look like. I'm sorry that I'm unidentifiable. I don't conform to normal beauty standards. So if that's on you, if you can't accept me for who I am.
Yeah, you need to investigate yourself if your reaction is smash it in the temple with a rock when you come upon something unknown.
That's so close to something too. That you're scared of to get that close to something.
You got in there.
And I mean, yeah, like they hit different, those Aussies.
He was taking a slug out of his cordials in the back and was like, I can take it. And the dog's like, no, don't do it.
Originally from Maxville, New South Wales, Rod Benfield claims to have seen Yowies in multiple areas of New South Wales, Beerwah, and the Sunshine Coast, convincing him the Yowie simply
can't be a myth.
He told ABC that his first Yowie encounter took place at the Candle State Forest in 2007 and left him with a
feeling of dread and outright fear. The first thing that came to my mind was that I had to get out of there.
Like others that have had run-ins with the hair-covered creature, Benfield spoke of its wicked wail, describing it to ABC as
louder than a lion's roar.
That's loud.
They are. Somebody on Reddit said that it was, he felt like it, penetrated his body. He was like, the sound was such a loud roar that it felt like it penetrated my soul. And people on there were arguing like, oh, do you think that maybe it could have been like infrasound, like the Yowie is like magical? And someone else was like, if you've ever been screamed at in the woods, it doesn't have to be a special sound to cut you to your core.
Yeah. It reminds me of the recent Freaky Friday of the woman who her fiance had the Alaskan Bigfoot and said also that the sound it made, it was like this primal instinct. So, I mean, there is something inside of us. I think that if it's unlocked with the right type of sound, it does take us back to, the early days of our ancestors.
Right.
I hear anything out in the outback that is even above a peep, and I am going to pass away.
Yeah, if something is as loud as a lion's roar, I'm fucking right off. But it's louder than a lion's roar. But yeah, the term of like guttural and like the feeling that it physically went through you, the gateway experience that we were talking about makes me wonder if there's something, not that it's like magical sounds, but just like the hertz, like the frequency that these animals yell at. I wonder if it is an evolutionary thing within us that we're like, oh, fuck, that's the runaway sound. And that's why you feel it in your bones, because your bones are like, why are you standing here? Why are you running towards it with the bullwhip? Why aren't you going the other way? So, yeah. Damn.
That's a good point. Day trader David Taylor had always fancied himself a Yowie skeptic until his own unforgettable encounter with the mysterious hairy beast in 2010. Taylor and a friend were exploring the Dularka National Park in Landsborough when his life was forever changed. As Taylor came to a fork in the dirt path, he saw it, telling ABC Sunshine Coast News.
First step, it was almost in the middle of the road. Second step, it was in the bush. Then, the third step, it was completely gone. Totally vanished. Couldn't see nothing.
Taylor recalled to the news outlet how he had never seen anything like the creature before.
Just the way it walked, you could see the human in it, but it wasn't covered in clothes. It was all hair.
Terrified, he admitted.
I started stuttering, and I had goosebumps all over me, and the hairs on the back of my neck stood up.
Fearful of what the hairy beast may do, Taylor and his companion made the decision to
get out of there.
Their quick thinking may have saved their lives, with David recalling to ABC the sound that emitted from the mouth of the hairy-faced brute.
Nothing makes you feel more alive than hearing it growl at you. It's that loud, and it rattles every bone in your body. Then you appreciate life. Changed him, dude.
You have not appreciated life until you have had a Yowie growl
You're like,
at you.
I'm feeling really present recently, and this has been really nice. I feel like I appreciate life. You never had a Yowie growl in your face. You don't know.
You're right. I haven't. I feel like, do I need to?
Oh, yeah. There's no high
to
like
feel
it.
Alive.
I wonder if that you become a Yowie hunter because you're like, I never felt so alive. I'm going
Right?
back out there.
Well, they all seem to say the noise it makes is just this like
chanting,
jaw-dropping, like changes you forever. And I have only heard a lion roar at the zoo. I have not heard one in the wild. I imagine that is a similar feeling, but I also think all of these people have probably heard a lion because they walk around in the bush a lot and they're out there, right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think you're
so
right.
They know it's not a lion. They know it's something different than a lion.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's the lion's roar. I think is the yowie sound has been more of kind of like a screamy yowl, howl kind of thing versus like a roar. But that video, I think you sent it to me or I sent it to you or we both saw it. Of the gorilla just walking through that group of people out in the in the forest or where they were in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. And of course it's peaceful. They're peaceful. They're all just kind of like laying and waiting for it to pass. But it is something so different than when you're like, oh, I've seen a monkey in the zoo. I've seen a lion in the zoo. And then you see it in front of your face and you're like, oh my God, I am not the top of the food chain.
Did you see the TikTok of the zookeepers that were feeding the gorilla, and there were two of them, and one of them, it was honestly another zookeeper's fault. They were supposed to have like secured the gorilla in an area while they went out and fed it, and it got out. But I mean, the zoo was open and people were filming this and children were everywhere. First of all, there was a good chance that these two women got killed by this thing, and everybody's just standing around with their kids. I'm like, why don't we go over to the sloth encounter while this is happening? But they, they did, I'm sure they have a lot of training and they got out of there, but just watching them like
hiding.
I mean, it was just like a standoff between this zookeeper with a bucket of food and this silverback gorilla just staring at her, 20 feet away. And you're like, it's like a duel.
Yeah. Or just like,
you're not winning that.
Yeah,
you're not going to win that.
I'm not trying to fight. I'm going to hide and get out of the way and like throw the food over there and run. That was in Fort Worth. That's your hometown, baby.
That was in Fort Worth where that happened. That's right. That was. Dang, man. Well, in Dallas, it would have gotten out.
Yeah, it definitely would have gotten loose. It'd have been driving a dart bus, picking people up. It's on the tollway.
Gorilla.
The gorilla and a dart bus on the tollway. I can't get under 55 miles an hour. I'd watch that. That's Dallas
like
for you.
Speed,
that's Dallas, baby, where the gorillas run free.
2 days later, Taylor's sightings appeared to gain even more credibility when members of the Australian Yowie Research Group photographed 2 large footprints in the dirt, right where Taylor had seen the creature. These are big old prints. I mean, to be fair, the picture I saw did not have a banana for scale or any type of ruler, but they looked very large and, were like sunk down in the dirt a bit. It's not just
heavy.
Like a human's footprint where they were heavy. Yeah, there was some heft to it for sure.
They were big, wide, and heavy. I did see a picture of a Yowie footprint with a gym shoe for scale, and I was like, but like, what size is the shoe? Like, I don't know if it's my size. Is it my cousin who wears a size like 17 because he's 7 foot tall?
Child's gym shoe. We need a little more context.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not helpful. But I did like Rex Gilroy was like, he was complaining about the more modern day researchers and how they didn't know how to take Yowie impressions, and he's like, they don't use a plastic bag like I do. And I was like, it's used to take you, so you get the crunch. You got to get it down in there. It's a special way to do it. So look to the classics.
How many plaster feet do you think Rex Gilroy has in his house of Yowies?
Oh, I'm sure he had a ton. And he, in one of the interviews, he had a piece, and the author of the interview was like, he was so excited. I got excited and I wanted to believe it, but he was holding up a piece of what the interviewer thought was just a rock. And Rex Gilroy was like, it's a Yowie tooth right there. It's a fossilized Yowie tooth. And the interviewer said he was so thrilled about it. And so like that Rex Gilroy was so excited about it that he was like, it made me really want to believe. Like, I can see why people are like, yeah, like cheering him on. But he probably had 30, 50, I don't know, more.
He had a room
plenty
that was dedicated to all of that for sure.
I hope they're being preserved in a museum.
Yeah, that stuff should. Somebody take over and put it in some type of museum. People like us will go
hell yeah,
look at it for sure.
We went to Boring, Oregon to go to the Bigfoot Museum. It fucking rocked.
That is a city. It's not a burn on Oregon.
Boring ass Oregon.
Boring ass Oregon.
We went to exciting town, Boring, Oregon.
Yes. David Taylor was so convinced he had an encounter with a Yowie that he founded the Sunshine Coast Yowie Research Group Facebook page. Here, fellow Yowie enthusiasts can share details about their own encounters, as well as alleged photo and video evidence. One entry from a group member reads,
Operation Return. Laurie and Daniel and myself returned to Kilcavan. Was an interesting 2 nights, to say the least. Lots of rock clacking and the 2 creek beds beside us. Had well over a dozen softball-sized rocks thrown at us in our camp. Had 3 deer antlers placed over the track we drove in on, set up in a way to puncture our tires. We located them at different times after we'd already walked and drove the trek. Strange indeed. Fucking Yowie. Setting Yowie traps.
That is strange. Yowie or not. Honestly, I think not is scarier. People
again
that live in the outback, in the bush, and that you don't know are there, and they're just like live in the bush. Like the people we talked about living in the catacombs. Like that is scarier to me. Always running into a person in a situation like this is scarier than an animal, because the mindset of someone that has chosen to do this and live out there is probably not one that wants to deal with my bullshit.
No.
You know, they obviously don't want me there.
Yeah, they're not trying to fuck with me. And guess what? I'm not trying to fuck with them either. You're right. This is just like with Gilroy's like first spotting when he's like, you think it's a man out there in an outfit? Like, if there's somebody out hiding in the bush in a costume, or if they're waiting for people to come and they're like, all right, we're going to put these here to puncture their tires and we can get them. Like you said, it's much more frightening that it's people behind it than that red that's looking back at you is like their infrared binoculars looking at you. Like, you think you're out hunting, but you are the ones being hunted.
I always liken it to what I know, which is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and the fact that I assume every small town in Texas that we drive through, the woods are just filled with shit like that. And so then I extrapolate that out to everywhere and assume that that's going on. And also that there was a series of movies. It's based on the actual Australian serial killer that targeted backpackers.
The person that wrote into Freaky Friday about.
Horrific. Yes, but there's also a series of horror movies that's based on that are so freaking scary. It's called Wolf Creek, and there's several of them. If you don't like gore, I would avoid it. And honestly, I don't, but I didn't know going into it. But it's so freaking scary because it's just a guy who is targeting like backpackers out in the bush, and he knows the area because he lives out there, and he knows they don't know the area. You take advantage of that, and then that's how you get locked in a basement in somebody's bush basement and tortured for a really long time. So that's the kind of shit that I would rather take on a 24-foot Yeti than deal with a person like that.
No, I agree. It's not, we're not here
not
to...
Yeti, Yowie.
What's this?
Also Yeti, though.
They're cousins. It turns out they're
true.
probably cousins. But I agree. I never want to think, I don't want anybody to think I'm besmirching the great country of Australia to be like, there's probably fucked up people hiding out in the woods. Because where I'm from, there's probably fucked up people hiding out in the woods.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like you said, we only know what we know.
Not probably.
Yeah, there are fucked up people.
There's proof. So, yeah. But something, it sounds like, did not want them there. Something or someone. In 2021, 3 men working on a plantation crew in Queensland saw what they described as a
hairy ape-like creature
slumped over near a streetlight as they were driving back to their base camp late at night. The Courier Mail reported that the men spotted a
slouched-over figure
beneath the light before driving closer and getting a better view of its
very long arms and ape-like face.
The men first believed it to be
a boar or a really big animal.
They approached the beast, but it ran away from them in what they called
a very ape-like manner.
One of the men stated that they were all
immediately confused when we crossed paths with the unknown entity.
One of the men, Seamus Fitzgerald, told the Courier that it was like
nothing I'd ever seen before in my entire life,
and that he actually feared for his well-being in the moment. When the animal ran, it veered to the side into the tree line. Fitzgerald also told the outlet how the bizarre experience impacted him.
I've never really had a paranormal or strange experience like that before. I hardly slept that night, and the feeling was overwhelming that I'd seen something that I'd never believed in previously.
The men weren't the only witnesses, as one of them was on the phone with his girlfriend, who heard the entire encounter. Wanting to find the creature, the men began a hike into the area where it had run, but their search was unsuccessful.
I believe they admitted too, they had brought a couple of friends to go search, and they were all kind of shouting and pretty loud. And then later they were like, well, we realized they're probably scared it off because we were like, where the fuck did you go?
And what are you going to do with it when you find it? It sounds like it was either taking a nap or maybe it was not in a good way if it's like slumped over near a street light.
It was like, I got drunk on my own milk. Leave me.
On my own milk, yeah.
Leave me.
But this sounds like it's probably some type of ape and or a sickly type of ape or something like that, or another type of creature. I always am like, what are you going to do when you run after it and then you find it? And then it's like, are you going to befriend it? I hope you're not going to pull a Marin and smash it in the head with a rock.
No, and
just let it run off and do its own thing.
Yeah, it's like, you get close enough to look if you want, but just then it's just like, wherever you want to go, baby, that's on you, Yowie.
Now, what if, hear me out, the girlfriend on the phone in this story was also the girlfriend on the phone in the other story. And so now she's like, twice I have been a third-party witness via phone to a Yowie encounter.
It's her, or this guy was just cheating on his girlfriend, and Yowie was like, not on my watch.
Everybody's trying to use the Yowie as an excuse to just go out and cheat on their partners.
He's like, Yowie, infidelity hunter.
Located in the heart of the Golden State between Los Angeles and Sacramento, sits the normally quiet town of Fresno, California. Considered a major city in California's San Joaquin Valley, Fresno is home to some of the nation's best farmland, with about 1.88 million productive acres. But in 2007, the city played host to a creature that had people well outside the city limits talking and speculating. The first filmed sighting of the creature stalking the streets of Fresno was captured on November 5th, 2007. A man identified in news reports only as Jose had set up a video camera over his garage. His dogs had been barking more often than usual. Neighbors had also reported bicycles being stolen. Out of curiosity, Jose wanted to see whether it was a wild animal or a creeping bicycle thief who had been setting the dogs off.
And in 2007, we don't have Ring doorbells or much more accessible, easier to buy, Simply Save video systems where you can just kind of stick the cams up everywhere. So this was like, I'm going to go put a camera. We're going to hook it up outside.
He had one on his front, run on his back, and was like, we're going to catch this thing one way or the other. But yeah, it was not the more advanced systems we now have, where you can check your cameras on an app on your phone and see what's going on no matter where you are, which you do. Quite regularly.
It's one of my favorite things. I'm like, oh, look, Paris is playing video games. Or like, oh, look, he's making dinner when we're apart. It's like a monitor.
A baby monitor.
I do like now my cameras say animal detected or human detected. Because before I would get like just motion alerts and I was like, someone's broken into the house. And now it's like, it's the goose yet again. Yet again, it's the goose.
Well, then you need cryptid detected. They need a third option.
And it does like in the cloud. This was a VHS tape, man. How far we've come in such a short time.
We have, haven't we? What Jose captured was neither of those things. The footage showed, just after midnight, a non-human looking figure, white with two long legs, that most closely resembled a pair of pants, walking without anyone wearing them. Then another one appeared, even clearer than the first. The creatures appeared to be 2 to 3 feet tall, with long legs, no arms, and small black eyes. According to Jose, they both looked like a pair of white pajama pants walking through his yard.
And they're actually kind of shambling. They're kind of like back and forth walking.
To me, it's when someone is trying to learn how to walk in high heels. This is, you're kind of like awkward, you're stepping kind of weird, your gait's kind of off, or like a newborn baby deer or animal learning to walk for the first time. Just kind of awkward. Doesn't look quite right.
Shaky, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he when he saw this, he ran and got his brother and had his brother look, and then both of them were like, what is going on? And quickly then showed the footage to their family. The system Jose used would record over the footage if he rewound the tape a second time. To preserve what he saw, Jose took out his video camera and filmed the television screen showing the creature walking by. This caused a degradation of the footage, but allowed Jose to show his family what the cameras had captured in their backyard. Paranormal investigator Victor Camacho later got involved with the family. Camacho explained in a speech on the subject that
Jose's brother went outside that night. He didn't see anything, but on one part of their yard had tiles, and he saw footprints, small footprints.
When police later arrived after being called by Jose, they discovered the small footprints had been washed away due to rain.
Oh, the Nightcrawlers picked a rainy night.
Maybe that's what brings them out. They like the cool, the way the rain feels on their pants. Maybe that's how they keep their pants so white. They only go out when it's raining so they can wash away all the dirt.
They're like, we rub OxyClean on ourselves. When the rain hits it, it activates. We're always stain free. I do also love to imagine the 911 call of.
Yes, we need that released. I imagine 99% of the time it is horrific to be a 911 operator. Mm-hmm. But then you get a call like this, and it makes the rest of the day not seem so terrible.
Or like there's a TikTok that posts like kind of wholesome 911 calls, and one of them where that little boy's like, I need help with my mask.
Yeah, and
the guy's
they do
like, okay.
help. Yes, they're
goes,
so sweet. Also, the one that I'm sure everyone's heard, if you haven't, go to YouTube immediately, where the cop calls in because he and his wife did some edibles and he thinks he's dying. Have you not heard this one?
I don't think I've heard that one.
It's amazing. He's like, I think we're dead. I think we're dying. And he's so high and so out of his mind. And the operator's just like, sir, you're not. You're fine. It is, it's embarrassing. And if memory serves, I believe he was a cop's, which made it even worse for him. Because this was like, years ago.
We have to call it in. I heard one, and I don't know if it's real or not. I hope it's real, where a woman calls and she's like, my teenagers are fighting and they're yelling at each other. And he's like, would you want us to come shoot them? Which is it's like very dry humor, sarcasm. And she's like, what did you just say? I don't know if that's real or not.
I've heard that one. I think it's not. I think it's been debunked, but, who knows for sure.
But in this one, I mean, to be fair, according to Jose's family and Victor Camacho, he was terrified. I think he didn't call and go, there's a cryptid in my yard. He was like, I don't know what the fuck this is. It's leaving tiny footprints everywhere. Please send help.
It's setting my dogs off. Police and experts were stumped. It didn't appear to be a person, nor was it an identifiable animal. Without either of these possibilities, more outlandish theories emerged. Some theorized it could be an alien. The creatures seemed too small and moved too awkwardly to be a human. If they were aliens, however, what did they want? Aside from the barking dogs and footprints, the being, who was later deemed a Nightcrawler, wasn't bothering anyone. It was simply piquing the public's curiosity.
That's the thing about these never try to break in. Nobody says, I woke up and there was one hovering over my bed. They're always just like, just walking. They're at nighttime. They're just making their way.
They're just doing their thing.
I saw a Nightcrawler. I think it was a tote bag, and it was a Nightcrawler walking, and it said, making my way downtown. Which I liked a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of merch out there for the Nightcrawler. The footage was analyzed by experts and even published on Univision's Interesting and Curious segment of its evening news program. The sci-fi TV show Fact or Faked also took a look at the footage and tried determining the Nightcrawler's origin. Investigators on the show contacted Fresno Animal Control, who confirmed it was no known animal that they had ever encountered before. In the end, neither Victor Camacho nor Fact or Faked were able to conclusively prove or disprove if the footage was faked. In the weeks following the sighting, Jose was so scared of what he had witnessed that he refused to leave his house. He and his family chose to remain anonymous, not only to avoid the spotlight, but also out of concern they would appear unhinged, according to Ranker. Sadly, any further attempts at clarity from Jose would be impossible. He died in a car accident several years ago and did not speak to the media any further after the initial incident.
And that's what I think is fascinating about this first sighting is that it's not like you have with the Amityville or something and Ed and Lorraine come in and they want to make it into a movie and option it into a book. I think he wanted the footage out because he wanted to know what it was. And even in the on-camera interview with Univision, his face isn't shown. It's like his hands and his camera. It's like keeping him anonymous. He didn't give anyone his last name. And so it's not like they said, okay, well, we're going to, start charging tickets to the front yard and come see where the Nightcrawler was. It was very much like, can you just help us and find out what this is? And sadly, they didn't figure out what it was.
Mm-hmm. The 2007 sighting wasn't the only time the pants-shaped creature was seen in Central California. In 2014, a man only identified as a 60-year-old former Marine was driving with his wife near Carmel. It was December 12, 2014, when the pair saw an unidentifiable creature. Ron McGlone, an investigator with MUFON, told the Highland County Press,
"The witness was driving near Carmel on December 12, 2014, came up over a hill and saw a 7-foot-tall, slim, gray creature with muscular legs that walked like its knees were backwards."
Well, I don't like any of that.
No, I love Carmel's very beautiful.
Carmel's great, beautiful.
Yeah, we drove through there in the fall, and man, you look over that wonderful horizon and see a freaking 7-foot-tall backward-ass leg thing driving to the ocean.
It's the knees backwards for me. I don't like that. Evokes just exorcism type things, or if y'all are watching Stranger Things right now, y'all know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unnatural. It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah, when you see something with backwards knees or arms going, you're like, that ain't right. Mm-mm. Like, what? And your brain's like, it should be. Is it an ostrich? You're trying to like,
is it a flamingo?
Ostriches aren't slim and gray.
Yeah, unless it's something went horribly wrong. The witness's wife was quoted saying the appearance may be related to some unusual gardening activity they noticed in their front yard. The woman told the paper,
"We recently bought a place in the Fort Hill area in southeast Highland County. We first noticed after about 30 days of living here that we suddenly have a perfect circle that stays fresh green no matter what weather in our front yard. On Friday night, the 12th, we were driving home, and after turning on Carmel Road, which leads to our road, we ran around the curve by the Carmel Church and then up a small incline. And approximately 10 feet over the incline and in front of our truck, the alien ran across the road and into the woods."
I would love a patch of green that stays green all year round because it is impossible to keep anything alive right now out here.
My front yard's like a dirt patch. So if it could even if it just walked a circle around the tree in my front yard, it would be better than the mudslide we got going on right now. Yeah. So I'm down with that. If its legs are backwards, that's okay too.
It's like a garden gnome, but not and creepier. But if it's going to keep my yard green, I'll keep it around. That's fine. Yeah, we can have a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, whatever it needs to do and whatever it's getting by doing that, keep doing it. It's fine with me.
That's fine.
I'll put a little bowl of water out for it.
Like the neighborhood cat.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
She recalled their reaction to seeing the beast, saying,
"My husband saw it. He's a skeptic, almost 60 years old and a proud Marine. He wouldn't have admitted to seeing it if he hadn't been in shock. I had him draw it for me when we got to the house. He says it was asphalt gray. Our asphalt is gray and about 7 feet tall. No arms that he could see, but muscular in the legs area. No jawline, and its legs were bent backwards, and it leaned forward as it ran." I'll tell you what this is.
Uh-oh.
Robots.
Oh, yeah. What are those called? We recently had this conversation.
Devil monsters from hell. I saw a robot. I almost sent you the link, and I thought this will probably be very upsetting for Christy.
Oh, no.
It is a robot that plays basketball.
No, that shouldn't happen.
Full-size human robot. It can free throw. It was hitting threes.
Of course.
Like Luka.
It's not programmed to lose.
Never. They don't lose.
No, never do they lose.
I was like, if this thing could dunk, we are hosed.
Yeah.
It was free throws and three-pointers and just
all over
going
the
around
place.
the court.
Did it walk or did it glide?
It rolled around.
Okay, it had rollers.
Yes,
like
but
Wall-E?
I have seen they have off-road. They have the all-terrain robots, and their legs look like this. Their legs go backwards. Maybe they're like government drone testing.
Oh, where were we when we were recently talking about the dog robots and there was another thing. We were talking about how creepy and scary they look.
Yeah, and how now the robots, they can't push them over. I can't remember why we got on that subject, but it was while we were driving, from Boston to New York. It was on that stretch. And talking about, I'm going to try, maybe because Boston Dynamic is the company that makes some of these robots. You push them over and they just stand right back up.
Yeah, like one of those, what are those things you can punch and they just go down, but then they come right back up? Those inflatable
clown
things?
Ones.
Huh?
The ones that look like clowns?
Yes. See? Clowns and robots. Two things. You hit them, they get right back up. They're undefeatable. The reports were made to bring attention to the situation. McGlone told the Highland Press,
I would like to get this information out in your area in hopes that maybe someone else has seen it, or that their giant crossbred ostrich got loose or something.
UFO hunters online began calling this the Carmel area creature, though some believe it is related to the Fresno Nightcrawler.
Like, if you work for MUFON, you got a sense of humor?
I feel like you're one of two things. You're either very serious and aliens are not a joke, or you have a good sense of humor and you can make light of certain situations.
I think McGlone is the latter, and he's like, if someone shaved their ostrich and set it loose, let us know.
Ostriches can be mean, though, so you might want to take caution if you do run across one of those.
I'd rather see a cryptid than a bald ostrich, because honestly, well, I don't know. Maybe if the ostrich was docile enough to let it be shaved, it's less,
okay. Yeah.
Man, ostriches, though, they will get you.
Yeah.
At a petting zoo,
no.
Don't get near that. It's a dinosaur.
I told you when I went through a petting zoo, a drive-through one when I was a kid with my grandparents, and they give you the bags of feed, which is so stupid. What is wrong with us that we think it's okay to send just anybody in their car through the wilderness with a bunch of wild animals, and you're just handing them food with your hands. Giraffes, ostriches.
Did the ostrich get you?
Yeah, it got its head because I gave it a treat, and then it was hungry. It wanted more, and so its head came in, and the treat bag was in my lap, and it started going after it, and my grandmother flipped out and started rolling the window up on its head to get it out of there.
Jesus.
Man, I know. Yeah, I was also attacked by geese once with my grandparents. I had a lot of bird encounters when I was with my grandparents. But yeah, those things, they don't take no for an answer. When they want something, they go after it.
I like that your grandma's just like, you know what? I'm sticking my hand back there. I'm doing it. We're rolling up the window.
She's got to protect me. Granny's got to protect me.
True protection. Yeah, those ostriches, I feel like of all the animals, just climb in the driver's seat and just go. Like, they would just drag you out and jump in and be like, I'm getting out of here. They don't care. Those heads, I mean, they need a sunroof so that they could see out, but...
They do, yeah. Or a convertible. Yeah, just get them a little convertible. That'd be cute.
Cruising down the street, got the bag of... If they had the bag of feed in the seat next to them, they can just dip their head down and get Cheetos
it on the road. In March of 2011, creatures very similar to the one in Fresno were captured on security footage in Yosemite National Park. Park rangers had set up cameras to try and catch suspected vandals. What their footage revealed was something much more bizarre. Much like the Fresno video, the Yosemite creatures appeared in a pair of two. They were around 4 feet tall, bipedal, and had no visible arms. Like the previous duo captured on film, the heads of these creatures were quite small compared to the rest of their body. While they appeared to walk much slower than the ones in Fresno, the shape and gait were both similar.
I like that it's a buddy system with the Nightcrawlers. There's always two.
You gotta... what fun is shenanigans if you're by yourself? If you're gonna go out and, get up to stuff, you want to have a friend with you.
Yeah, if you're gonna visit a foreign planet, you're like, come on, let's go. Let's go on an adventure.
Yeah, if something happens, you need a witness. So you're not just going back to the ship and you're like, y'all aren't going to believe these people have dogs as pets, which I think quite often to myself. Sometimes when I'm just sitting in the house and I have a pig and a dog, I'm like, wow, we're all just living under the same roof together.
So I told you, coming to your house, I'm like, oh, she has a pig. Like, I know that. And then you go into a living room and you see a giant pig in the living room. You go, wow.
Yeah.
There's a pig in this living room.
There is.
Damn, like I know it's coming. I've seen her. She's great. She's very friendly. Sometimes. If you have food and snacks. But it's still like just a strange,
it's not normal. It's not everybody has one. Like seeing a dog, okay, that's common. The pig, not as much.
Yeah, but she's part of the family.
She is, and she's inside a lot right now because it is way too hot for her to be outside.
Too hot for the piggy. Well, the Nightcrawlers can go back and tell their ship, I saw a goddamn pig in that house.
It seemed like she was in charge of everything. They're not wrong.
They're like, this pig had humans and a dog as a pet. A whole family of humans.
Yeah. In the comments section to the Yosemite video, a user named Trucker247 recognized the Nightcrawler and shared their experience.
I saw one in the Utah desert late at night while driving an 18-wheeler. The encounter lasted about 5 minutes. It appeared to be chasing me, but it reminded me of a deer trying to get away and thought it could outrun me. I believe it was from another world.
Trucker247 needs a show.
Yeah,
like
full on YouTube channel.
Like East Coast, what is it called?
FM?
Coast to Coast AM. He needs his own show where we just hear stories from the road like this. Honestly, a trucker podcast where it's stories like this would listen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even if it's just wacky stuff you see at a truck stop, I would listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if it was like, I saw some crazy shit driving along at night. And like, we've gotten some Freaky Fridays of people that are not professional drivers who are seeing things at night. So the statistics of being on the road at night, I'm sure professional drivers see way more than the average bear. So
you see,
Freaky Friday.
You definitely see fucked up stuff. I'm sure you've picked up hitchhikers and have some crazy stories from that. I don't know any truckers, but if you're a trucker out there, just know that y'all should get together and start a podcast because we want to hear your stories. Or in the meantime, just send them into our Freaky Friday.
And is it one of our Patreons? Frank is a trucker, and we
that's right. Okay, so I do know a
trucker input.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Frank. So that's please send more stories if you have any.
Yes. A 17-year-old motorist driving through Manchester, Indiana, claims to have seen a Nightcrawler late one evening on the side of the road. While it mostly resembled the Fresno creature's description, there was one notable difference. The unexplained Indiana being was over 6 feet tall. A second car with 2 passengers drove by and also saw the creature. All 3 motorists agreed that what they saw was not human, according to Ranker.
Well, maybe these are the parents and the other ones are the babies. Or what year is this? Is 20...
I couldn't find the year for the Indiana one, but, it's probably in around 2017, 2015.
And, a couple years later, maybe they just got taller.
Yeah, I mean, we all do. We grow, so. In 2017, the Nightcrawler appeared to go international when an alleged sighting from Poland was reported. The person who supposedly spotted the mysterious white legs had no photo or video proof, leading most to ignore the claim.
Well, by 2017, it's been around 10 years. It's probably gotten wise to spotting a red glowing light. So what better way to remain under the radar than you go to Poland and just keep your eyes peeled for any CCTV security cameras, and you can just walk freely and everybody will just be brushed off, and then you can walk around as much as you want. They're like, not again. Please get out of my yard. It's like, what are you going to do about it? No one's going to believe you.
I believe there's a lot of snow in Poland during the winters, if I'm not mistaken. If you're from Poland, I could be wrong. But, I would go, if I was one of these, to a snowy area because I feel like I would just blend right into the countryside.
For sure, yeah, because they're hanging out in California and Yosemite with a lot of trees and greenery, white against green. That's going to, this is brilliant.
Go to Colorado, go to even New Mexico, the white sands, the dunes. You don't want the cold, you still want the hot. There's still places for you.
They're just sliding down the dunes, their little pairs of pants
on their inner tubes. I did that when in middle school. We took a trip out there and went tubing down the dunes. It was fun.
Tube the dunes with the Nightcrawlers.
On April 15th, 2020, in Billings, Montana, a home surveillance system caught something around 9:45 p.m. The footage shows some trees to the left and a tank to the right. About 20 seconds into the video, something the same shape as the Nightcrawler is seen over by the far right of the screen. At the same time, a sound similar to a pig's snort or a growl can be heard over the sounds of passing cars.
Where was Petal on the night of April 25th, 2020?
God! You know what? I can't recall, so I can't say she wasn't there. Perhaps she was in Billings, Montana. The owner of the land found a deer carcass the next day with an injury to its abdominal area. The landowner suggested that possibly indicated a mountain lion, though the shape in the video does not resemble that animal. The video and the deer attack could be unrelated.
Yeah, I think it was just trying to make sense of what they saw or heard on the video versus what they found the next day. And it could just be, it looks more like when we covered Skinwalker Ranch in Utah, the deer injury looks more closer to that. But it also could just be, you know, a wild beast got a hold of it there in the forest.
Oh, I'm sure that's not uncommon. This, I mean, we'll get to it, and so what do we think? But to me, this one looks like a person or an animal walks onto screen and walks off. It's so quick, it's hard to tell if it's a mountain lion, but it does look like it could be some type of animal, and the fact that there was a growl heard at the same time would lead me to believe that, you know, I mean, there's all sorts of shit that if you ever watch on YouTube or TikTok, like what cameras out in the people that live out just like out in the forest and stuff, or they'll have trail cams where like game walks by. I don't know how you'd ever sleep again once you saw what goes on out there at night.
Yeah, once you know the ones that are like motion sensors, man.
Or you just see bobcats or mountain lions walking right down, like in your backyard.
We saw a bobcat the other day running away from White Rock Lake. I thought it was the biggest thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
Maybe, I don't know what it was. It was huge. There's no way it was a house cat.
No, I mean, I've seen on Nextdoor reports of a bobcat in the area, so it probably was a bobcat.
It was so big.
Yeah, they'll also eat your pets, so
probably
keep
my
the goose inside.
Chihuahua was so little.
Although, I feel like the goose could take most things down.
I was going to say, I think anything that goes towards her, she's so ornery, they're like, it's not worth it. I'm going to go find something that's less of a fight.
There's very little meat on this to make it worth it.
That's true. She's got little chicken wings for legs.
Well, the devil has horns and a forked tail, earning its devil moniker, and reportedly breathes fire. It has even been known to poison water with its hot, rancid breath. Kind of a cool party trick.
That is pretty neat.
For those that have been brave enough to venture into the wooded areas the devil calls home, sounds of the monster's high-pitched screaming still rings in their ears.
Well, the breathing fire, I think that confirms that the kangaroo head would be freakier, because a goat breathing fire, sort of maybe dinosaur-ish, kind of looking at goats, kind of more harsh features.
Yeah.
And a kangaroo is so soft.
That's why I think it's creepier if it's a kangaroo, because it looks sweeter.
Yeah. And then it's like, bah.
And fire shoots out of its mouth.
Burns up your coffee or your water.
Kangaroos are really, they can be, like, they're
aggressive.
Very aggressive and violent.
Did you see that video on the internet where that guy fought that kangaroo because it started to attack his dog? I think we talked about it on the show before.
It's the size of him.
Yeah.
It looks fake.
I would fight a kangaroo.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, for sure. According to Cryptids.fandom, AmericanFolklore.net claims one of the most historic sightings of the Jersey Devil took place in 1820, when Joseph Bonaparte allegedly saw something far scarier than his warmongering younger brother, Napoleon. As legend has it, one snowy afternoon, Joseph was hunting near his estate in Bordentown, New Jersey, when he spotted some unusual animal tracks on the ground. To Bonaparte, they looked like the tracks of a donkey, a harmless animal by all accounts. However, unlike a donkey, the prints were different sizes, with one being larger than the other. More bizarrely than that, there were only two, not the usual 4.
Okay, you got a bipedal donkey.
That's any time you see, well, like we said before, when you just see is two prints, and Jesus is carrying your back legs.
Jesus was carrying you.
But yes.
Wheelbarrow style.
Very few animals
with hooves.
Apart from a kangaroo. Does a kangaroo have hooves?
No, they have like flippy floppy feet, like clown feet.
Like padded feet?
Yeah, like wacky pad feet.
So then is anything bipedal?
I don't think
with
anything
hooves?
was hooves. I would think all bipedal things are like zebra, horse, donkey, mule, goat.
Wow. Bipedal means 2 though.
Uh-huh. I'm sorry. Those are all the hoofed animals, and they all have 4 legs, theoretically.
Yeah. So if you saw that, you would wonder, where the other two hooves
What happened to the other half of this goat?
Yeah, what's going on here?
Or this donkey?
As Bonaparte pondered what animal may still be lurking nearby that caused these tracks, he suddenly heard a strange hissing sound. When he turned around to see what was causing this, he found himself face to face with the Jersey Devil.
Can you imagine Thanksgiving at the Bonaparte house that Napoleon's like, I have taken over 3 countries? And he's like, I saw a thing in the woods.
I saw the Jersey Devil.
I saw a devil in the woods.
Honestly, I would be like, what? I would be more into that story than Napoleon's. I'd be like, sure, Napoleon, whatever. Everyone's doing that these days.
Exactly.
But what? What is this?
Did you always
cloven winged beast you speak of?
Why are you listening to Joseph?
I imagine there's a lot of sibling rivalry between the two of them.
Seriously, so much. I think Joseph doesn't get his due respect and praise in history.
Definitely not.
He saw the devil.
He may have made this up just to try and upstage Napoleon and get just like wedge into a conversation with mom and dad.
Bonaparte. Oh, you mean the guy that saw the Jersey Devil? Well, actually, we were talking about the conqueror. Oh, well, just so you know, his brother saw the Jersey Devil. No one cares. What's your name?
This is the Napoleon we need to be, or the Bonaparte we need to be talking about.
Also Joseph. My name's also Bonaparte. Just saying. I'm just saying.
Well, frozen in fear, Bonaparte forgot he was armed with a weapon.
Okay.
Well, dude, come on. Instead of killing the winged creature that had the head of a horse and legs of a bird, he stared in terrified astonishment. The beast then hissed one last time before flapping its wings and flying up and out of sight. Well, if he had shot it, it's not like he was trying to attack him.
That's true. It would have been...
he was just checking out the digs, seeing if he wanted to, call a tree over their home.
And also if the Jersey Devil was staring at him, he couldn't get his weapon, and the Jersey Devil didn't do anything.
Right.
He didn't cut him up or...
He's probably, I always say, they're more scared of you than you are of them.
That's right. Every cryptid.
Like that lizard last night.
Oh my God, you guys.
Heather
Christy was in my house.
Lost her mind. I was going to leave. Heather opened the front door. And it was probably 2 inches long, maybe an inch, of a little salamander that we have around here a lot. Ran in the house. They are very fast, so the skittishness is what creeps me out.
And they're like flesh tone.
Yeah, it's
not
the
even
color.
Flesh tone, they're like translucent.
If it was gray, I think it'd be less creepy. But they're like a salamandery pink color. Yeah. We never found it. Did you find it today?
No. I've been scared all day to go in the living room. I hung out in the bedroom all day.
Well... He probably isn't in there anymore. I don't know if that makes it better or worse.
I bet he escaped into
I think he probably crawled under a baseboard and is back outside living his life.
Hopefully. There's no bugs inside. I had a bug guy come and spray, so there's no food for him here.
There you go.
So go away.
He had to get back out.
Go find your bug buffet outside.
Well, throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, evidence of the Jersey Devil appeared to be everywhere. Residents reported hearing ungodly wails coming from the dark depths of the Pine Barrens, and family pets and farm animals were found ripped apart, having become an unfortunate and bloody meal for something much more powerful. An article in the Trenton Times from those days showed that during a week of terror in 1909, more than 1,000 New Jerseyans claimed to have seen the devil. One resident was particularly well equipped to encounter the monster. Stephen Decatur, a Navy commander, was testing cannonballs when he aimed and fired at the beast. Although he managed to hit the devil, it flew onward, unfazed.
I mean, how do you know if a cannonball works? You gotta test them.
You gotta fire it at something.
Throwing my balls at the devil and I missed.
That's pretty badass. You get hit with a cannon and you're going. Like, just put up your little talon middle fingers and keep flying on.
Oh, is that wing?
Cannons are crazy.
It's such a weird thing that it's something so huge that's like, I mean, these bowling ball size or bigger. Yeah. And way back in the day with like no real technology. I mean, I guess it was pretty advanced for the time technology of just, let's put a bunch of fucking gunpowder behind us and watch it go. How
incredibly dangerous.
That's crazy.
And then they would just fire it into something, into a group maybe 400, 500 feet away.
Yeah, or like into the side of a boat, and the boat is like, bloop, it just is going to sink. You just punched it.
History's
it's like
wild, y'all.
It's crazy.
When you really stop to think about the obvious of things that have happened, but you really like let your mind wander and go there, shit's wild.
It's true.
I mean, I wonder, I often think, what would be the equivalent of that kind of stuff in our time that 300 years from now, somebody's going to look back at and be like, they fucking had this?
They put cellular technology in their pockets.
Yeah, that's probably going to be they put those cancer machines next to their heads.
Next to their genitals and their heads.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And that's how the human race went extinct.
It's like that with like vaping. Everyone's like, oh, vaping's totally fine. And now there's apparently some horrible disease. Please don't DM us. First of all, neither of us smoke or vape. I don't care. Please don't DM me. There's a lot of
vaping stuff.
But now, well, there's two camps. One camp like believes it and says yes. And there's like 4 cases of people that died in Dallas County alone from this new disease.
So apparently, at least from the cases that I'm talking about, I don't know if these are the same ones in Dallas, but they were vaping cannabis pens.
Ooh.
And from what investigations have uncovered, the one thing all the pens had in common was there was a vitamin E soluble that had been introduced into the liquid.
On purpose?
Yes. That when heated, vaporizes. When cooled, becomes like an oil slick.
Ooh.
So people were vaping it and not having any problems at the time. But then once it settled in their lungs and cooled, it was becoming like oil in their lungs and sticking to stuff that shouldn't be stuck to, eventually causing pneumonia, and you basically drown.
I didn't even think about that.
So now
the nature of the substance that you vape would change.
Yeah.
Because I guess I just think about smoking. When it's burning. It's smoke that goes in and smoke stays in your lungs. I guess it does sort of turn to tar. Wow.
So now there's a bunch of investigations being done. The products that have been pulled from shelves, hopefully in most places. I mean, that was my question. I was like, how do you, because so many have it. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's up to vape shops and stuff. Not even vape shops. These were weed. So it's like dispensaries and things like that. So
is it any of the tobacco ones that have that?
I'm not sure about that. Don't get me wrong,
dude. I hate smoking. It stinks. It drives me crazy. My dad smoked. I loved him. Nevertheless, I hate it.
Yeah.
I would 100% rather everybody vape.
Oh, 100%.
As long as it doesn't get goo in their lungs.
100%. Yeah. Well, the New Jersey Historical Society describes the ensuing panic in Trenton Township after that initial sighting. Residents reported seeing tracks in the woods, hearing the sounds of flapping wings at their windows, and also seeing the Jersey Devil itself, with it even attacking a trolley full of people at one point. People as far away as Delaware and Pennsylvania also reported sightings around that time. I'm trying to think if I've ever been on a trolley.
Oh, I went to San Francisco and I rode a trolley.
Home of the trolleys?
Ran in the trolley.
That's their motto, right? Their city motto.
What? Roll with the trolley?
Home of the trolley.
Oh, home of the trolley.
Roll with the trolley is better.
Rice-A-Roni, San Francisco treat. Ding, ding. Yeah.
I loved those commercials.
It made me want to go.
Such a catchy jingle.
And
Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat.
Why do people? I didn't eat Rice-A-Roni when I was there.
Why is it a San Francisco treat?
That's a great question.
Is that where it was made?
Apparently, I don't know. It's marketed that way.
Man, I've never really thought about that until now.
You have the why, but nevertheless, as a kid, I wanted to go to San Francisco because of that. And I went. It was very nice, and I did a tour that was walking, city buses, streetcar or trolleys. Subway. It was kind of like all that.
So you would get off at the stop of the subway and then jump onto a city bus?
Well, you would like take the subway to one place, do a walking tour for like 10 minutes and like see a historical site, then get on a trolley, go somewhere else.
But it was with a group.
It was with a group.
So you weren't just having to board with a bunch of people that are like, I'm just trying to get to work.
You do have to you kind of get in their way. They're like, you have your little necklace on. They're like, fucking tourists.
Yeah, that's got to be a beating.
And I lived in New Orleans and they have streetcars in New Orleans.
Yeah, that's true. I've been to so many cities. I've been to San Francisco and New Orleans so many times.
And McKinney Avenue. You haven't been on this one?
I don't think I have.
It's fun. It's free. In Dallas, you can ride the McKinney Avenue trolley.
I'd like to think I've been on a trolley, but I can't place where.
I mean, it's open air, so you got to go at the right time of year.
Yeah, that's true.
But also easy to attack people because there's no windows.
That's true. Yeah.
So the Jersey Devil just went to town,
man,
sticking his little fluffy kangaroo head in every porthole.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Following this terrifying week, sightings seemed to become less frequent. Perhaps the beast needed some alone time after wreaking such havoc. However, reports certainly did not stop entirely. According to HauntedAmericaTours.com, in 1951, several young boys from Gibbstown, New Jersey, claimed to have spotted a beast that looked half monster, half man, emitting an unearthly sound.
The 1950s were a big time for monster movies. So
yeah.
Maybe either they were inspired by this sighting, or maybe they were inspired by the movies.
Or it was false panic. What is it called when...
Yeah, like mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria,
Cats and dogs living together.
Mm-hmm. 40 years later, in 1991, a pizza delivery driver in Edison, New Jersey, was making the rounds one night when suddenly he found himself confronted by a white, horse-like creature.
You think you just whipped the pizza at it? Ah, take it!
I feel like this pizza driver was having a fun time that night, driving around. And he was like, what's this white horse standing in the middle of the street? Moo, I'm trying to deliver my pizzas.
It has a message for me.
Near Mays Landing in 1960, there were reports of shrieks and cloven hoof tracks in the woods. According to the New Jersey Historical Society, this prompted local businessmen in Camden to propose a strange reward: $10,000 cash and a private zoo built just for the devil if anyone were to capture him. To this day, there is no private Jersey Devil Zoo in Camden.
But what an offer.
How fun would it be if there was, though?
You could give him a whole habitat.
He would have the whole run of the place to himself.
The Dallas Aquarium. You could build it high so he could fly around and put some tree tops in there.
And then have like an underground lair in case he wanted to just like chill for a bit.
He needs some private time.
I think so. That's probably why he wasn't seen for so many years.
That's
He's
true.
like, I need some me time.
Every time I go in front of
self-care
people,
is very important.
Yes, they scream in my face and they reach for their guns, but they're too
He's
scared
just trying to be friends with people, and they're just screaming at him.
He's being rejected. It's hurtful.
Devil shaming.
That's right. Well, and he's just trying to make friends. You can't help it if you have a kangaroo head.
He can't help how he was born.
His little kangaroo head.
WeirdNJ.com offers many accounts of New Jerseyans that have had run-ins with the haunting cryptid. One such tale, submitted by Mary Ritzer Christensen, recounts a night in 1972 that she will never forget.
One winter night, I was driving to Glassboro from Blackwood on Green Tree Road. At the time, the road was flanked by orchards and farms. There were few houses, and there was hardly any development. I was completely sober and awake when I caught a glimpse of something in my rearview mirror. It was dark out, but moonlit enough that I had no trouble at all discerning the upright figure of a creature crossing the road from one side to the other, roughly 25 feet behind my car. The figure stood taller than any man by far and had thick haunches, similar to a goat's, supporting its nearly human-like torso and a huge woolly head. It moved heavily and didn't seem at all disturbed by my being there. Never again from that day on have I ridden on Green Tree Road, day or night, that I haven't gotten the heebie-jeebies just thinking about that winter night so long ago.
What are the odds that Mary Ritzer Christensen fucked this thing?
I pulled over. I didn't know what it wanted, but when we made eye contact, I knew all too well. It had the scent of a man.
I feel like this is the start of a weird erotic novel.
What is it? Dear Penthouse Forum?
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great Seinfeld episode.
My Buick had a spacious back seat.
When Kramer gets all into that. Oh, so
reading
good.
all of them. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but she seemed kind of into it.
She's describing it very erotically. His thick haunches.
Like a goat's, and a woolly head.
His big old woolly head.
Oh, tickled my thighs with all that wool. I'm sorry, Mary.
So
You're
sorry.
a real person.
I'm sorry for what you've gone through that you saw that.
You're probably traumatized and we're making fun of it.
You're driving down the road, Christy. You see a beast.
What's the first thing I do?
You bang it.
Oh, I think about it.
Is it cheating if it's a cryptid?
That's a good question, Tommy. What would you do though for real? If you were driving down the road, like a deserted type of road, you're by yourself, it's late at night, and you see something like this, what's the first thing you do? Pull out your phone, or do you fucking floor it?
It depends on how threatening it looked. I feel like the Jersey Devil doesn't look as scary as, say, like a bear or a Bigfoot or something.
Like a real thing, like a bear?
Yeah, but I guess even then, like, I would probably try to take a picture of it. I would probably try to turn
I would
my
try and
phone
take a picture.
on like record, like video record, and also speed away.
And just drive at the same time? Yeah. Yeah.
I have a couple of friends that have those cameras in their car.
Dash cams?
Yeah, dash cams. And they record like, I think at 12 hours at a time. And then if you need to save it, you can go home and save it.
Why did they have these installed?
One of them's a lawyer and he's paranoid. And I think he had somebody at a red light back into him and then try to sue him.
Oh.
And so luckily the person in the car beside them stopped and said, I saw that person back into you, so if you want a witness. And so that way, the person in front of them, when they try to claim on the insurance, if he rear-ended them, they had a witness. And so ever since then, he's kept a dash cam.
That's smart.
And then another friend, a lady, cut him off and like she scraped his car. And again, she tried to say it was him. And there were, again, a good Samaritan. You guys, if you see an accident, just stop and give your cell phone number and just say, hey, I'm willing to be a witness. Because in both of those cases, they saved thousands and thousands of dollars. These insurance companies would have to pay and their rates go up because people were lying.
Yeah.
So now both of those people have dash cams.
Now they're like, Good Samaritan or not, I've got your number.
I'm covered. And if a cryptid runs across the road, I'm going to get a video of me on the hood of my car, fucking it. Dear Penthouse Forum.
Sell it for millions.
Exactly.
I'd buy that tape. Please. That's why we need dash cams.
You kept saying on the last episode, Geek Seeks Gold, and it's like Lady Fucks Devil.
Google Lady Fucks Devil. I guarantee you're going to get a ton of hits.
Rule 34.
We were just talking about Rule 34 the other night.
There's a Lady Fucks Devil.
Because of that, the cult show I was telling you about that you missed.
I know.
That divulged into a vegetable porno. And then afterwards, I think it was our friend John Spriggs, who is one of the funniest people I know.
His videos, when he just goes live and starts talking, it is so funny. His whole Twitter feed is so good, too.
He said, I bet if you Google what Tommy called it in the show, veggie potluck suck and fuck was the name of the porno.
There's probably video of that.
And Tommy was like, yeah, Rule 34. And then he Googled veggie porno. Well, John was like, there's probably parodies of like Veggie Tales and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot. Ooh. And it made me upset. Because those little veggies are very cute and innocent and sweet and real Christian.
Real religious.
Yes. And there is a lot of pornos of those things doing bad things to each other. Yeah. Rule 34, you guys.
Got a DM from a listener the other day about, I used to write Backstreet Boys fanfic, and she said something about, the sex scenes, and I said, none of mine ever had sex scenes in it, which is like bad fanfic.
Yeah. Isn't that why people go to fanfic?
Pretty much, but then you can like find like Harry Potter, Backstreet Boys, whatever, anything, any coupling of any people where you're like, oh, Mrs. Sprout, and whatever, the lady that does the Quidditch, what's her name? I can't remember her name. That would have been a good joke if I remember Harry Potter characters.
I can't remember them.
But it's any number of like Professor McGonagall and Dumbledore go into the. It's just like, come on.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
It's not my bag.
But you know what? If it makes you feel good, go feel yourself.
Go for it.
Feel yourself.
From that same site, Sunny Z, which is a pretty sweet name,
it's a dope name,
tells of his harrowing story.
Let me tell you of a sighting of the Jersey Devil. I was driving up Route 9 in Bayville around 10 p.m. There were two cars in front of me who were traveling about 35 miles an hour. To the right of Route 9 is a mini multi-building with woods behind it. To the right is all woods. All of a sudden, I see this big thing running across Route 9. Looked like one of those classic pictures of the Jersey Devil. Had no tail, no fur, his ribs showed, had a long, odd head with short ears that laid flat. Looked almost 10 feet tall. I stopped to mail something in the mailbox about 300 feet from the main road, and I saw a child's shirt, shorts, and one sneaker lying on the ground. I mailed my letter, ran to my car, and I laid rubber all the way home. I was certain I had seen the Jersey Devil. No one believes me. They say it was a deer, but I have never seen a deer that big, that fast, or that weird looking in my life.
First of all, when I put this in the outline and imagined you reading it, that is the exact voice I pictured. So that made me very happy. Second of all, I'm trying to think of things I could be doing that if interrupted because I saw the Jersey Devil, I would continue to do them.
That letter was important.
What was he mailing?
It was a card to my mother on her birthday. And it had an Outback Steakhouse gift card in it.
Oh, God.
And I had to get it out so she could treat herself to a birthday dinner.
Oh, well, you know who loves steak? Probably this
Jersey Devil. Medium rare.
Man, and he has to drive to a mailbox and get out of his car to mail it. That's a commitment. I mean, maybe that's why. If you were just walking down your driveway to mail it, you could easily turn around and run back inside. But he's made a commitment. It was mail day, and God damn it, nothing was going to stop it.
They're going to cut off my cable. I'm not going to be able to watch Frasier anymore.
He is a Frasier fan.
Definitely.
Well, I don't know.
Will Niles and Daphne ever get together? I don't know. I need to know. Don't mess it up for me. They cut my cable off.
I won't.
If you like our free episodes, you'll love our Patreon bonus content. You can join for free to see what we're up to next, or dive into over 900 hours of bonus content. And if you join for free just to see what we're up to next, we will thank you once a month with it all totally free archive bonus content. So you can hear something like Judge Christie, Am I the Asshole, Dear Sinister, any of those weekly bonus contents we release once per month for our lovely free members. So we appreciate y'all. And October is the perfect time to up your membership to a paid one if you're thinking of doing an annual membership. We are giving you 2 months free on any annual Patreon membership this month through October 31st. This deal is both for new members, so tell your friends, and current monthly members who want to switch to an annual subscription. This is the best deal we've offered on Patreon. It's 16% off, so now is the time to lock in the best rate on a yearly membership. It's only available to new annual memberships. Current annual memberships are not eligible for the discount. The offer ends October 31st, so don't miss out. And when you join, you'll get ad-free episodes. All episodes of the show are now available ad-free on Patreon. It took us a while to get our early pre-Patreon episodes up there, but they're all up there. And as a thank you just for joining for free, not even a free trial, just as a free member, you can listen to episodes 13 through 50 totally ad-free for free. So head over to Patreon and sign up as a free member to start listening now. You also get, when you sign up as a member, monthly live stream Q&As, quarterly bonus content, those weekly audio bonus content, mini-sodes, merch discounts, and a community of the best listeners on the whole very dang internet. Plus, head over to Sinisterhood.com and click shop on the top banner to check out merch like t-shirts, totes, mugs, and even clothes for your kiddos. And be sure to check out the Patreon pinned post to get your Patreon merch discount. While you're on the website, you can review the show, follow us on socials, and check out our episode description for links to the full episodes you heard today, as well as sources used during our research for those episodes. You'll also find fun things like topic-based playlists and links to our final Full Moon Energy show on October 17th at the Texas Theater at sinisterhood.com/live shows. You can follow us on Instagram and Threads at Sinisterhood Pod. You can like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. You can watch full episodes of our Wednesday episodes on YouTube. They come out early and ad-free on Patreon, just saying. And you can also watch clips of the show on our TikTok. If you want to order a custom video shout out for yourself or the Sinisterhood fan in your life, head over to cameo.com/Sinisterhood. We can say happy birthday, happy anniversary, congrats. It's coming up on the holidays. We'd love to do dress up in holiday themed outfits. Maybe we can do a Christmas corn skull or something. Just let us know over at cameo.com. You can follow Christy on Threads and Instagram at Christy M. Wallace, and on TikTok at Christy or GTFO. And you can follow me everywhere at Heather versus the World. As always, the devil rules the airwaves. Keep it creepy.
Say